Okay, allow everybody to connect to audio here. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. It's a rainy afternoon in Baltimore, but we appreciate you spending your time with us. We're really excited to have CSTE here. Jessica and Christy are going to talk a little bit more about the organization, about their roles and opportunities. So for now, you all are on mute. However, I believe we'll have some time for Q&A at the end, where you can come off and ask questions or even put those questions in the chat box. So with that, I will turn it over to you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. And thank you everyone for joining our session. So we're going to be talking with you all today about CSTE training opportunities and our fellowship program. So just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Jessica Haupt. I'm one of the workforce and fellowship coordinators here at CSTE. I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science from West Virginia University, right down the road from Johns Hopkins in another state. And then I moved down to Atlanta, Georgia to get my Master's of Public Health at Emory University and graduated in 2020. I will say I am born and raised from Montgomery County, really right down the street from Johns Hopkins. So I'm glad to be speaking with you all. I know Carolyn and I, we were just talking about our experiences in the Baltimore area. But before we move on to our presentation, if you could put in the chat box what degree you're working on and also what year you are as well. So for example, I put MCH first year. Also, please feel free to use the chat box for any questions, or you can wait until the end to go off mute to ask any questions you have. All questions written in the chat box will be answered after we have finished the slides we have. And also, I do want to apologize in advance as CSTE is currently still working fully remote. You might hear my dogs in the background at some given point. They're just sharing their thoughts and opinions about CSTE as well. So just some quick staff introductions. I just quickly introduced myself. And then we're going to talk about what CSTE is, and then we're going to go into training opportunities, which includes our student membership, our early career professional subcommittee, our mentorship program, as well as the 2 fellowship opportunities we have right now. And at the end, we're going to talk about some career opportunities, not only here at CSTE, but other public health corporations as well. So I quickly introduced myself, but also on the call, we have Christy Nguyen, who is our other workforce and fellowship coordinator. Both of us focus on our applied epidemiology fellowship program. So let's talk about what CSTE is and who we are. So CSTE is a professional network of 2,000 applied epidemiologists spanning all public health specialties, states and territories, and levels of government. So members lead national policy and programmatic change through subcommittees and nationally known for viral diseases and conditions. So CSTE is the professional home for applied epidemiologists. So we include training opportunities. We also have capacity building. We also maintain the National No for Bio Conditions list, and we also provide fellowships for rigorous training and developing applied epidemiologic skills. So our strategic plan here at CSTE is to inspire our members to accelerate the impact of applied epidemiology on public health and policy actions through advancing the data monetization initiative through collaborative cross-sector efforts, equipping our members to navigate the changing public health landscape, advocating to secure increased funding and visibility for data monetization and applied epidemiologists, and optimizing our strategic partnerships with the CDC and public health stakeholders, while also ensuring that there is diversity, equity, inclusion in all these steps. So you can experience the real world of epidemiology practice beyond your classroom education by becoming a CSTE student member. So you can kickstart your career in this competitive field through our CSTE annual conference, scholarship opportunities for students. You can also network with professionals across the United States and territories. You can also access professional mentors as well. You can participate in the numerous webinars and other training that we have online for students. And you can also become a leader and or participate in our student subcommittee, which we'll be discussing in a second. So one of the many changes that have occurred through our subcommittees are case definitions. And one of these case definitions that occurred in 2021 was alpha-gal, and I could talk about this all day long because I find it to be such a fascinating syndrome. So alpha-gal is a recently identified type of food allergy to red meat, and in the United States, the condition most often begins when a Lone Star tick bite transmits a sugar molecule called alpha-gal into the body. So you actually do not react until you eat red meat. So for this case definition, numerous CST members helped with the case definition based on their expertise within public health. So this includes public health epidemiologists, data entry specialists. We even had a few of our fellows participate in this case definition, tick surveillance specialists, and so many more. So what are these case definitions and what do they include? They include a statement of the problem, background and justification, the goals of the surveillance, the case definition for case classification, a table of criteria to determine whether a case should be reported to public health authorities, and more. So you're actually able to see this exact document if you look online. So if you just go to Google and type in alpha-gal syndrome, CSTE, it will be one of the first things that pops up, and you're welcome to review this case definition. So the reason I explain this one example is this is one of the hundreds of things our membership is currently working on that is shared with all state epidemiologists and health departments to be utilized. So case definitions are extremely important because, for example, for alpha-gal, you want every health department in every state to categorize a case the exact same way. So you don't want one state to classify a case, whereas another state might not classify it the same way based off their requirements. So these case definitions are shared, so everyone is classifying syndrome or infectious disease the same exact way, such as COVID-19 and monkeypox. We actually just approved our monkeypox case definition, so you can actually see that online as well now. So how do you become or how can you join these subcommittees that help with these case definitions? So if you are interested in becoming a CST member, you just have to visit our webpage at cste.org and look for the Join CST link at the top of the page, or you can become a member via the post that we have online. Student membership is only $30 per year, which is a steal compared to other memberships that you might be seeing for public health organizations. So through our CST student membership, we do offer student scholarships via the CST Foundation. And additionally, all the resources and training programs are open to students, even though if you are not members of CSTE. So for example, we have the fellowship and training tab. Under there are some training and other webinars that you're able to view, and you can also view those in the About tab as well. So one of the subcommittees for our members, including students, is the Early Career Professional Subcommittee that has a goal of engaging early career professionals through webinars and conference events. They host webinars on professional growth and networking events at the CST Annual Conference. It is also supported by our ECP mentorship program, which we're going to talk about in a minute. I know a few upcoming webinars that the Early Career Professional Subcommittee is going to have is going to be regarding data visualization and data communication for early career professionals. We also have a mentorship program which aims to build relationships and foster shared learning among applied epidemiologists. So this is a 10-month virtual membership program which matches mentees and mentors on common interests and their motivation for participating in the program. Mentors and mentees meet virtually once a month, and mentees also receive monthly newsletters with upcoming professional development opportunities and access to the mentorship program online platform to help facilitate that virtual networking. So let's go ahead and discuss our fellowships we have here at CSTE. So currently we have 2 fellowship opportunities that is available for recent master and doctoral level graduates, which includes our Applied Epidemiology Fellowship Program and our Applied Public Health Informatics Fellowship Program. So let's first talk about the Applied Epidemiology Fellowship Program, which I'm going to refer to as AEF. So AEF is modeled after EIF at the CDC and is a competency-based program that uses a mentorship model. CST works collaboratively with our stakeholders who also provide technical assistance to our fellows. This fellowship is supported by funding from the CDC and is a 2-year program at a state, territorial, local, and/or tribal health department. So AEF began in 2003 to increase the EPI capacity for state and local health departments. And there are 3 main goals of this program. First, the overall goal is to increase applied EPI capacity in health departments, not only while the fellows are placed in the program, but long-term with fellows finding that long-term placement in applied epidemiology. Secondly, the fellowship provides service to the host agency while the fellow is placed. So for example, there might be some projects that the health department has been wanting to work on, but unfortunately due to bandwidth, they have not been able to, so the fellow can come in and help assist with those projects. And then finally, the program provides an accelerated high-quality training experience and also prepares the fellows for a long-term career placement at the state, tribal, territorial, or local health department level. So listed here are the current list of fellowship subject area opportunities. The host site applications we receive each year determine the availability of placements in specific areas. While our fellows focus their projects and activities around the subject area they are in, they are able to work on other projects as well. So for example, an environmental health fellow might complete a cluster and outbreak investigation with the infectious disease team at their health department. And the fellowship, as I mentioned previously, is a competency-based program. And so the competencies for our fellowship fall into three major categories: EPI methods, communication, and public health practice. And so during the fellows fellowships, they will complete a project that focuses on these competencies, which would include evaluating the surveillance system, analyzing EPI data, writing a surveillance report, and more. These competencies are a subset of the applied epidemiology competencies and help guide the fellows training experience. And the full list of our competencies are posted on the CSTE website. However, currently our competencies are under revision, and our upcoming classes will be using those updated competencies in the near future. I wanted to show some fellow spotlights from our previous fellows. So this is Andrea Leonars, who was a Class 18 Maternal and Child Health Fellow with a focus on emergency preparedness and response, and she was placed at the Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So post-fellowship, she actually was able to land a position at her host site as an epidemiologist. And here's a very short list of the projects that Andrea was able to complete during her fellowship. So as I mentioned, she was a maternal and child health fellow, but she still had focus on infectious disease. So a lot of her projects went around COVID-19 and how they affected women who were pregnant. I'll give you all a second to review these. And let's go ahead and discuss Selena. Selena was a Class 18 infectious disease fellow with a focus on healthcare-associated infections, and she was placed at the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. In post-fellowship, she also was able to land a position at her host site as an antibiotic resistance epidemiologist and analyst. And here's, again, a short list of what projects Selena was able to complete during her fellowship. And so let's go ahead and discuss fellowship eligibility. So all fellows must be at least a master level trained, usually with an MPH, and you are eligible up to 5 years postgraduate of your MPH or your PhD or other master or doctoral program. Also, all degrees must be from an accredited academic institution that is in regards to health-related fields, so that MPH or PhD in public health. The minimum course requirements include at least 4 advanced graduate level EPI courses and 1 biostats course. These are the minimum, and successful candidates generally have more of these courses. So one way to make you a successful candidate is to have more than just those 4 advanced graduate level EPI courses and 1 biostats course. So I highly encourage you all and suggest that you take those extra EPI courses to help you gain additional skills and knowledge. So I know every MPH program varies on what statistical software you will be using during your degree, but if most of your classes focus on SAS, for example, and if there's one class that focuses on R, take that course that has R so you can learn another statistical software. Also, fellows have expressed interest in a long-term career in applied EPI, as well as strong analytical skills. And lastly, fellows must be US citizens or have permanent residency status. So I wanted to share our application timeline for AAF. So currently our application is currently open for both Class 20 and Class 21. So the main difference between the two is for Class 20, your fellowship will start in 2022. So this is for master and/or doctoral degrees, and they must be completed by the end of the year. Successful candidates will be matched to a host site focusing either on maternal and child health or injury and drug overdose. On all the candidates that have a successful match will be placed at a host site by January 2023, and applications will be reviewed on a rolling basis until we have all our host sites are filled, and this is an accelerated timeline compared to previous application cycles. However, as I mentioned, we also have Class 21, our application cycle is open. So for Class 21, the fellowship will start during the summer of 2023. I see a few, it looks like some might be graduating next spring, so you'd be eligible for this one. But just again, for master and doctoral level degrees must be completed by June 30th of 2023. And successful matches will be matched to a host site on numerous subject areas. So that one slide I had that included all our subject areas, this is the timeline for that group. And all the candidates that have a successful match will be placed at a host site between June and August, so again, starting next summer. So this is the application timeline for class 21. So our application again is currently open. Our host site billets will be posted online between January and February of next year. However, currently we do have 2 host sites posted for injury and drug overdose for class 20. So you can get an idea of what a host site billet looks like and the kind of projects and activities fellows are working on. Our fellow application will close on January 20th, and that is a hard deadline. Our application review, we do have a very rigorous review process here at CSTE, which will be between January and March. Candidates that are moved into the interview phase will interview with CST in March of 2023. And our matching process will occur late March 2023, and we'll have another slide about that goes into more detail. And then the fellow placement announcement, so we expect to let all of those that had a successful match know in early of May 2023. Again, so fellows can start between June and August, so next summer. So one of the common questions is, how are the host site applications chosen and how do we decide on them? So each year we have our candidate application, as I mentioned, is currently open, but we also have a host site application as well. The amount of host sites that we have each year varies on the number of host site applications that apply, as well as our funding. So once a host site applies, their application is thoroughly reviewed, and if it is approved, their information is posted on our website for candidates to review via a host site billet. So as I mentioned, at this time, we do have 2 injury and drug overdose host site billets posted on our website. And so if candidates are moved into the matching phase of the application process, they are able to choose up to 4 host sites that they're interested in and interview with those host sites. So after interviews, candidates and host sites will rank each other, and CST will review the rankings and make the final decision on where candidates are placed. So our goal is to match every candidate with their top choice. However, there's a possibility that candidates might be placed with their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th choice. However, candidates will not be placed with a site if they do not interview with them or they do not rank them. Another common question is if there is an option to request remote interviews with CST, and if not, is financial assistance available? So the pandemic drastically changed how we conduct interviews here at CSTE. So before the pandemic, CST would cover the cost for all candidates to come to our national office here in Atlanta to interview in person. So we would cover the cost of your travel here, so that airfare, the hotel, food, and so forth. But due to COVID and our national office being closed, we have had to change all interviews to fully remote. There are pros and cons to both in-person and virtual interviews. However, we see that virtual interviews work better for candidates as it's less stressful than having to book travel and travel to a whole new place. For our virtual interviews, we provide numerous time slots for candidates to choose from so that you're able to choose a date and a time that works best for you. As our national office is in Atlanta and we are in Eastern time, we always ask that candidates make sure to apply and they select for an interview time to make sure they schedule an interview based off the time zone they are currently in. We have had some candidates join us from the West Coast for a 9 a.m. interview, thinking that it was an interview. The interview time was in Pacific time, so they were actually joining an interview at 6 a.m. So keep that in mind, not only for CST interviews, but future interviews as well when you're applying for positions. So more information about the CST Applied Epidemiology Fellowship is on our website at csdfellows.org, and the program is listed under Prospective Fellows. And again, this website can also be found on our CST.org website under their Fellowship and Training tabs. So let's go ahead and discuss our Applied Public Health Informatics Fellowship, which I'm going to be referring to as APIF. So this program places recent graduates with a strong informatics, data science, or similar skill sets in a state or local health department. And so for 2 years, the fellows will work on a variety of informatics and data science projects. They're going to be learning from experienced mentors and getting hands-on training in public health practice. So if data analysis, programming, or syndromic surveillance gets you excited, you might be a great fit for this program. CST will recruit and place 8 fellows to start their fellowship in the summer of 2023, and we'll provide more details on the timeline in a second. So in this program, fellows will gain a hands-on experience and have the opportunity to explore long-term career opportunities at the state and local health department level. Host sites will apply through a competitive process just like AEF, as fellows bring a valuable skill set and needed energy to their informatics challenges. So fellows work closely with highly trained and experienced informaticians, epidemiologists, and public health practitioners at the state and local level. And each fellow will have 2 mentors who will supervise day-to-day activities and support the fellow's career exploration. Program participants will develop a comprehensive set of core skills through applied competency-based training and experiences. So fellows will strengthen their informatics training and data science skills, and also have the opportunity to work with laboratory data. For the class beginning in 2023, CST will be recruiting 8 fellows who will be connected through periodic live virtual workshops and an online community of practice. Through this experience, fellows will be able to build their professional network. So here is the fellowship eligibility. It is the exact same as AF, except the only difference is that ideal candidates will hold a degree or certificate in either public health informatics, epidemiology, statistics, computer science, information science, public health medicine, and so forth. So here is the class 7 application timeline. It is almost the exact same as AF, except some of the timing is a little bit different. So for example, the fellow application is currently open for AF, so it'll be opening for APIF, I believe next week, early next week. But let's go ahead and discuss the similarities and differences between both fellowships. So the compensation for both fellowships are listed here. The stipend is fixed and it's a taxable amount and does not vary based on where the fellow is placed. Fellows in different states will receive the same stipend, and CST will reimburse fellows for their insurance premiums, qualifying professional development expenses, attendance at relevant conferences, and also other training opportunities. We also offer relocation support as well as funding for a host site visit. So why a CST fellowship? So with that in mind, let's talk about other benefits of not being just a fellow with that compensation, but the non-compensation benefits as well. So 2 years in a fellowship training program may not feel like a lot of time. However, many of our fellows feel like they have received 4 to 5, even 6 years of training experience in just these 2 years of their fellowship. And the reason for this is because fellows are able to participate in so many more projects and activities than what an entry-level epidemiologist would be able to do. We actually have 2 previous epidemiologists in our applied epidemiology fellowship program that decided they weren't getting enough skills and knowledge at their health department, that they wanted to join our fellowship so they could get more experience and skills than what they were currently receiving. So their fellows are able to work with different departments and work on projects and activities with others in the health department. So some of our maternal and child health fellows are able to work on infectious disease outbreaks, which allows them to connect with another department. Many of our fellows work with their environmental health department, even if they're not in environmental health, so they can participate in preparedness and response activities. For example, some fellows will help with the hurricane preparedness in the Gulf of Mexico, where some of our California fellows might be focusing on earthquake preparedness, and our fellows in the New England area might be focusing on winter preparedness for snowstorms. So you can see, based off your geographical location, your projects can also vary. So in addition, not only do the fellows have their 2 designated mentors, many will develop a connection with others working within the health department through collaboration on their projects. So fellows also benefit from the cohort model, that fellows are connected to each other to build that peer network that spans the country so they can learn from one another. CST also provides funding for fellows to pursue that professional development opportunities, such as attending conferences and trainings. Some fellows like to learn more and practice their data analysis skills, so they might purchase an R subscription or a SaaS to better increase their skills and knowledge with that data analysis software. Fellows also can get involved with CST subcommittees and work groups, which provides a further connections with the public health professionals at all stages of their careers. And all these aspects of the fellowship make it a great way to either enter or transition into the field of applied public health, whether that be applied epidemiology or in that informatics role as well. So I kind of talked about the matching process, but it is the exact same for both fellowships. So the fellowship placement offers are matched to host sites based on funding availability and also the matching outcomes. So following application review and interviews with the CST staff, some candidates will be able to move into the matching phase. At this time, when candidates get to learn about the specific host sites, fellows will be able to choose up to those 4 host sites to complete phone interviews with. And then following these interviews, candidates will rank the sites, and the host sites will also rank the candidates that they have interviewed with. Then CST will make the final fellowship placement offers, and we will not send any offer if you did not interview or rank the host site, as I mentioned previously. So the application components for both fellowships are the exact same. So we require an online application, a resume, a personal statement, letters of recommendation, transcript, and also proof of United States citizenship. So candidates often ask how to put together a great application, and it really is important to pay attention to detail before submitting your application. So be sure that you have followed all the instructions. Be sure that the documents you upload for your resume and CV, and also your personal statements are final versions and do not contain errors. CSTE also must receive all your transcripts by the application deadline, as there is no exceptions, as we receive hundreds of applications each year, so the program cannot accept any late application, including transcripts. And so let's go ahead and we tend to receive questions about what these fellows do post-fellowship. So after the 2-year fellowship, graduates take on a variety of steps. So many of our fellows will stay at their health department that they were placed at, whether it's at their host state or another jurisdiction. And some will go on to opportunities with other public health corporations, such as the CDC Foundation. And some fellows each year will return back to school. So as you can see here, here's a list. We did have a fellow recently become an epidemiologist 3 at Cook County. And then we had Selena, who's an antibiotic resistance epidemiologist. And then we have some fellows that go to the CDC Foundation, some go to the ORISE Fellowship and other career opportunities, including furthering their education. So as you've heard, we have 2 different fellowship opportunities, and this slide highlights the main differences between the Applied Epidemiology Fellowship and the Applied Public Health Informatics Fellowship. So in addition to those listed on the slide, there are distinct eligibility criteria for each fellowship. AF is focused on applied epidemiology and organized by subject area, and fellows work in specific subject areas that are listed on this slide, whereas APIF is focused on public health informatics, and fellows will work on projects related to data science and lab capacity. So next, we're going to address some frequently asked questions that we get from prospective fellow candidates as well as students. So are the host site, what are the host site locations, and can I request a specific site when I apply? And yes, we discussed that in the matching slide, where candidates get to choose up to 4 host sites that they're interested in and want to interview with. What will the work environment be like? Do I have to relocate? And this really does vary on the host site, as some jurisdictions are still working fully remote and some are in a hybrid situation and some are fully in person. So it would just depend on what your host site would be like in the work environment. We ask that fellows follow the regulations that are put into place for their health department. And what makes a good application? So reviewing the eligibility criteria carefully, contacting your recommenders, that personal statement, making sure that there's no errors. And then, can this be used to fulfill a practicum and internship requirement? And no, fellows cannot be in a degree-seeking program during the fellowship, so students cannot use this as a practicum and internship requirement. And if you're a first-year student, what should you do to make yourself a strong candidate for these opportunities? So review the eligibility criteria that we have posted on the website and course offerings at your school, and take courses that challenge you as well to grow. So I also wanted to discuss some openings that we have here at CSTE. So on our CSTE.org website, we do have a Career Center page at the top right next to that Join CSTE. I apologize, this slide was not supposed to be there, but you can also plan your career using the Plan Your Career button. So when you do this, you're able to put a job title, for example, an epidemiologist in Atlanta, Georgia, and see the wages as well as activities, knowledge, and skills that are needed. You will also notice that on our website, we do have job postings across the country, and those are for positions outside of CSTE, and a lot of public health corporations will post their job postings on our website. But we also have careers here at CSTE, and if you scroll on our Career Center page, there's this little box at the right that says Careers at CSTE. I know we have about 16 positions open. We have added a few over the past few days. So I highly encourage you to review the host site, review the positions that are available on our website, not only at CSTE, but other public health corporations as well. And then here is the contact information specifically for each of our fellowships. At this point, I'm happy to take any questions anyone might have via the chat box, or if you want to come off mute.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, so let me allow everyone to unmute themselves. And if you can, I think that would be the preferred way to interact with Jessica and Christy. Of course, you can put a question in the chat box if you're unable to do so.
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting talk. Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a PhD in basic science, and I'm currently working at Johns Hopkins and did my MPH part-time. and it was mostly, I took the applied epidemiology classes, and I have some experience in applied epidemiology. I'm working with some faculty here. Since I'm I'm kind of an advanced person, I already have a PhD. It has been some years, and I did my MPH part-time and has been working along that, mostly doing research and also doing research coordination and stuff around research. Is that, am I eligible to apply for such fellowships? Or am I too advanced?
So if you have a master or doctoral level degree, you are welcome to apply. There is no specific criteria depending on how much education and how far you're in your career. But one thing to keep in mind is you have to be graduated with your degree within the past 5 years. So if your PhD was over 5 years ago, then you're no longer eligible, and as well with your MPH. So at least as long as one of those you finish within the past 5 years, you are eligible. And I will say we do have doctoral level candidates join. We just recently had one for our healthcare associated infections, and she has a nursing degree, nursing practitioner degree, a PhD. She has, I think, everything you can find. And the great thing about her is that she's already stepping into the role. She's taking more leadership than a typical AF fellow might take if they're coming straight from their MPH degree, because of the knowledge and the skills that she already has. So also depending on what knowledge and skills you bring to the table and your experience, your experience is going to be a little bit different than other fellows' experiences.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This was a very helpful presentation, because applied epidemiology is not, there are applied epidemiologists in Johns Hopkins, but not as extensive as those who do research specifically. So this was very helpful.
Awesome. Glad to hear. Thank you.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you for that presentation. Very informative. I wanted to ask a question about the Applied Epidemiology Fellowship. About what time commitment would you say, on average, these fellowships are? Are they like full-time, part-time? Like, could you have a job and work it, or is it totally taking up all your time?
Great question. So this position is supposed to be like a full-time position, as though you were an entry-level epidemiologist at a health department. So 40 hours a week. Most of our fellows, if they do have a side job, it's outside of their fellowship hours. You should be focusing your daytime for the fellowship, because you're going to be at a health department working with data, working with colleagues and so forth. Some of our fellows do have side jobs, but they normally do those on the weekend.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have, I guess, one more question. For the placements, are there like regions of the United States where there's like more options versus less? Like I'm from Minnesota and I would love to do this in Minnesota. Is there like one fellowship there versus maybe like 5 in New York or California? Something that's, I guess, kind of what I'm getting at.
Great question, and it actually varies by application cycle. So for class 18, they're going into their second year of the fellowship. We actually placed 2 Hawaii fellows and then the Alaska fellow, whereas for class 19, I was actually class 19. I'm getting all our classes. We have so many. That was class 19, but for class 20, we have not had any Hawaii or Alaska fellows, but we've had a Virgin Islands fellow. But a lot of the fellows are normally more in city-based areas, but we do have a fellow that's in North Dakota and a few in Minnesota. So they're kind of scattered across the country, but we tend to have more fellows in more populated areas.
Thank you.
We always get excited when we have a fellow that is not in the domestic part of the United States, because it is always awesome to see fellows going across the country. I know our fellow in Alaska, he loves his travel up there, and he's thoroughly loving the Alaskan life right now. So
Might be a bit cold for me, even as a Minnesotan.
Well, if no one has any other questions, we have our contact information on the slide. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if it pertains to questions pertaining to the fellowship, or even just general questions about CST. We're always happy to answer anything that comes to these inboxes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica and Christy, for taking some time this afternoon to speak with us. It was definitely informative. And we will be sharing the recording out for those who missed it, or I know if you jumped on late, don't worry about that. We'll have the recording sent out this afternoon. And Jessica, I believe there's another session for CSTE this afternoon. Is that correct? Run not through our school, but through your organization. Is that right?
Correct. It's another session, but it's going to go over the exact same information we went over today. So
Okay, good to know. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day and a nice weekend. Thank you.